It is the 9 o'clock news local edition as we sit down tonight to have a conversation with Rye Davis. Rye, where are you from?
Greg, I'm from a small town. Actually, it's a hopping metropolis. It's called Pig, Kentucky. P-I-G, that's right, you heard me. Yeah, it's just north of Bowling Green, Kentucky. Yeah, now there's a lot of people say that they are from a small town, and then I say I'm from a small town. Well, we don't have a red light in our entire county. So long story short, I'm from Pig, Kentucky.
Pig, Kentucky. I did not know that there was such a place on the map, but now if I'm looking for pigs, I know where to look in Kentucky.
That's right. Look for Pig right above Bowling. We're Mammoth Cave National Park, right around that area where I was born and raised.
If they don't have bacon as one of their hallmarks for that town, they are so missing out.
The Pig Diner, listen, that Pig Diner's famous. You ever go to Mammoth Cave National Park, see the world's largest cave system, swing on down, see Calvin and Ramon at the Pig Diner, and they'll treat you right.
So you come from small town living, and you have got that in your music. It's in your blood.
Yes.
You are a country artist.
I am a country artist as far as I know. I don't necessarily like, I guess, stigmas on music. I think no matter whether you want it or not, you're going to have some sort of influence from other genres. Me, for example, my first album was a CCR, Creedence album. I was a big John Fogerty guy growing up, and I really liked the Southern rock things. And I also, I was a big Waylon guy. Really like Waylon Jennings because my dad was a big fan. And a lot of the Bakersfield sound, but it's music. Willie Nelson said it best when he said, there's two types of music. There's good and bad. And I'm trying my best to make the good kind.
Well, we're going to hear some of that good kind, where your influences have infected it, a little bit later on as we get to know more about Rye Davis tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. We're getting to know more about Rye Davis tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition here on Rock 93.7. Kentucky boy. I think we established that pretty firmly earlier.
That's right.
That you're from a little place called Pig, Kentucky. Growing up there, your musical influences, we kind of touched on those a little bit earlier. Does your family have a musical background, or?
Other than listening to music, no.
So how did you end up with a guitar in your hand?
Well, it's a kind of a long story that we're going to condense a little bit. I played collegiate and college. Well, that's the same thing. I may not be educated, but I'm educated enough to know that collegiate and college mean the same thing. I played professional baseball with the Phillies organization for a couple seasons, just bounced around a little while. While I was there in Clearwater, Florida, I bought a guitar that was about the size of a ukulele. It was a Guitar Center across the street. I'd always wanted to learn to play. I'd always had a big passion for music. And so I bought the guitar, and I started playing some. And when I got released, decided that I wanted to pursue it full time. And it's one thing led to another, and now here I am.
Started with you and a guitar.
Yep. Discovering
the passion for that, then playing for a few people. How did it get to the point where you're playing for a bigger crowd? What was that like first time?
Well, that's a really good question. I guess the first time I ever played in front of someone, nobody's ever asked me this question before, actually. This is good, diving in there. The first time I ever played in front of someone, or in front of a big group of people, was at a place called the Spillway Bar and Grill in Bowling Green, Kentucky. And I knew, the 3 or 4 songs that I'd written. I'd never played any cover songs or anything like that. Not really. I knew some that I'd learned, A friend of mine was like, "Hey man, I like your songs." His name's Jeffrey Blades, and he said, "We're having a round. All you got to do is play 3 songs. Get up there and start playing." So I got up there and started playing, and the bar owner, Robert, he really liked the way that I sounded, and said, "Hey, we've got an open slot here in 6 weeks. You got a band, or do you want to come just do an acoustic show on a Friday?" I was like, "Yeah." And we were leaving, and Jeff was like, he said, "That's 4 hours worth of music, right? And 20 minutes." And then it gave me a goal. I sat down and started playing music. Shortly after that, I got on I tried out for a TV show that my now fiance, then girlfriend, told me that I should try out for, called Rising Star. And I was really doing that kind of to impress her, to show her that I could get on the show and I could do this. And I did, and I got on the show and got on ABC, and that was the first time that I was in front of a real big audience, and here we are.
So you went from trying for a single and got the homer.
I got the homer. That's
see
right.
How we brought that back around.
I see what you did there. Yeah,
well, let's get to one of your songs, Blue Jeans.
Blue Jeans, yeah.
Where does this come from?
I was sitting on the porch writing with the same guy, Jeff Blades, and We were writing a song, just throwing some ideas around, and we were on Mom and Dad's porch. And we got to talking. If you can't tell, I'm a little bit of a chatterbox, and so's my mama. God bless her for putting up with me. But and she got to talking, and me, her, and Jeffrey got to talking, and me and Jeffrey got to talking about our glory days, about how we thought we got away with everything in high school. And she looked at me and she said, Rye, I know everything you did in high school. And I was like, how is that? And she pointed her finger at me. Serious a heart attack now. She pointed her finger right at me and she said, because you were too stupid to take everything out of your blue jean pockets before I washed them. So that's where the song comes from. It's a song about what mama's finding in your blue jean pockets. And I just thought, everybody has that memory of leaving something in there when your mom was washing your pants, and you're like, and they found it, and those conversations always come up, and it's one of those songs that every time someone hears it, they come up and tell me their story.
Well, let's see if everyone else can connect with it. It's Blue Jeans. It's Rye Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition, Rock 93.7. Getting to know a little bit more about where he comes from and where his music comes from as we talk with Rye Davis tonight on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. I think we've established that family has an impact on your songwriting as well as your musical influences. That's had an effect on it. Your time in baseball, did that have an impact in writing too?
As far as the writing side of things, not really. But, if I hadn't played ball, then I never would have got the guitar and played. So I think baseball probably had, if it had any type of effect, it was more the grind. There's a lot of time spent on the road in music and in baseball. So as far as the songwriting side of things go, probably not. I mean, I think that's one of those things that you just kind of develop on your own once you start actually writing. But as far as I've never written a song about baseball. I've never written anything like that. It's always been kind of.
Do you get that moment where it feels like, okay, now it's time for me to sit down, and do you force yourself to write, or does it just come naturally?
Writing is one of those things that I have tried to find out where it comes from, and I think the harder you try, the harder it is to write a song. So once it comes from everywhere. We were talking about like Blue Jeans, for example. That idea came, and we wrote that song in 15, 20 minutes. And there's been times where I've sitting down and try to force myself to write, and it might take me 6 weeks to write a song. So. There's not really a process. I write every day. Don't get me wrong. I'm always like leaving memos on my phone, and I'm trying to come up with hooks and ideas. But it always feels like the more I try, the less excitement there is to it. Whenever something happens, and you get an idea that you really enjoy, is when it's fun. So I guess yes and no to answer the question. There's a process to it, but there's no process to it as well. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
When you sit down with pen in hand, whether you're trying to force it or not, do you have a mindset as far as, okay, I need to write this for playing it live? Or do you have the mindset of I need to write this for recording it? Or does that even impact it?
Most of the time, it doesn't really impact it for me so much. And maybe it should. A lot of guys have that, okay, I want to write this for this group of people, or I'm going to write this because I need this type of song for the next album. For me, it's kind of hard to make a song go a certain way because a lot of my songs are more of a storytelling style anyway. So I just kind of let the story kind of dictate where the song's going to go. I don't sit down with a mindset of I want this or that. I just sit down and I want to write the best song that I can write. Once I get the idea, what's best for this idea, instead of trying to force it to be something it's not.
Well, you've written, I think, a few songs that you've managed to get recorded. One of those is She'd Know.
That is actually, speaking of song ideas, that idea was actually my fiance's, who is also a songwriter. We met in Nashville, and she came to me one day after I'd come in. We were living in Nashville at the time. I come to the apartment. She said, I've got this idea that I've been throwing around, and I want to run it by you. And I goes, all right, what is it? And she said, She'd Know. And I was like, she'd know what? And she was like, well, it's a cheating song. And the way she explains, like, the guy's with this girl, and he wants to write this girl a song, but he can't write the song because if his wife or girlfriend or whoever it is hears it, then she'd know. So the whole song's kind of based around that idea, and I fell in love with that idea, and we sit down, and that's another one of those songs that it did not take very long for us to write. It's kind of weird because, we're happy. We're very, very happy, and it seems every song we write is a cheating song. So I don't know what that says or whatever.
I guess it turns out she knew about She'd Know.
She knew about She'd Know. That's right. I like that.
It's Rye Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. We've been getting to know more tonight about Rye Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. The one go-to question I have not asked, and I've held off to this point. How did you get the name Rye?
Mama did good, I reckon.
Well, I didn't know if that's the name that they gave you at birth.
That is the name that I got at birth. I've got that question a lot. I tell everybody that was my mama's favorite drink, and that's what she wanted. Whenever she was pregnant with me, she couldn't have it, so that's what she named it. But that's my mother doesn't even drink, so she just she liked the name, I reckon. And being from Kentucky, it's a big like bourbon. There's a lot of those type of things going around. So I guess maybe something like that. I don't know.
I wondered if it was a setup for an eventual album, Whiskey and Rye, or maybe a collaboration down the road.
My fiance's name is Brandy with a Y, so Brandy and Rye. So I guess
we're not too far off.
We're not too far off. Maybe it was just one of those meant to be type things. I don't know, but
so the name's as genuine as the music that you write, which
yes.
We've established, I think, more than firmly that kind of falls into the country area. But you don't let that restrict you when it comes time to sit down. There's some Southern rock influences that come into play, maybe a little bit of rockabilly. What direction do you see you taking yourself down the road? Do you plan on staying kind of just wherever, or do you have, I want it to be this?
That's a really good question. I haven't thought of what I'm trying not to force my sound to be anything. There are a lot of guys that I look up to in music that their names don't get thrown around as much as they should. One of those guys is Dwight Yoakam.
I had planned to mention that you had said earlier the Bakersfield sound has had an influence. That's Buck Owen.
Yeah.
And that's Dwight Yoakam, and there's a little bit of that thrown in there.
Yes.
They have a unique sound that when you hear them,
yes,
you just go, oh, that's them. So are you hoping at some point to have a unique Rye Davis sound?
Yes, and that's the goal without trying to find that. And when I throw around names like Dwight Yoakam and a Bakersfield sound and Waylon, I'm not saying that's the sound that I want, but I like what those guys did. I like what they've done for music. And guys like Dwight, I mean, he's still making, he just came out with a bluegrass album. Swimming Pools and Movie Stars, that's what it's called. And he took all of his old hits and he turned them into bluegrass, but you could still tell, like, by the feel of the music, even though it was bluegrass, that it was Dwight Yoakam. And it almost had in Waylon, for example, they have that drive in their music. Like when a Waylon song comes on, he's got that Telecaster with whatever type of pedal he's got going on, and it's just got like a stomping drive to it. And it wouldn't matter what genre he's in, people are going to, they're naturally going to be drawn to that. And that's part of what I would like to have is a sound and a feel. Whenever I open my mouth or whenever the song comes on and starts, that's Rye Davis. And that's something that I'm going to try not to force, but it is the goal.
But you are getting closer to refining what makes your sound. One of those songs on the upcoming EP, that would be Cherry on Top.
Well, Cherry on Top, I don't think necessarily describes my sound. As a matter of fact, it's one of those songs that is just a fun to play song. I think it was a good place for me to start.
Is it you stepping out of your comfort zone, or is it you just having fun?
No, that's definitely one of those songs that other people like to listen to on the radio. That I like the play on words. I like the way it's written. But it's definitely one of those songs that I like the song, but I don't necessarily think that song will define me as an artist 10 years from now. It's, artists, you have a lot of songs and there's a lot of stepping stones that you go through from what I've learned. You look back 2 or 3 years ago and then 2 or 3 years from now and be like, and see what you have then versus what you have now. And I think Cherry on Top will be one of those songs.
Well, let's let the listener decide,
Let's let the listener decide. Let's do that.
It's a little fun time. It's Cherry on Top. It's Rye Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. Tonight, we've shared with you the music of Rye Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7. We could be sharing your music. Go to the website if you have it. Rock937online.com. There's a little thing to submit your music with right there. Rye, you've got some music that's already been recorded. Do you have that online where they can find it?
I do. They can go to my website. That's www.rydavis.com. And you can check that out. And it's going to have a lot of my music there. And you can also check me out on Facebook. That's Ry Davis Music. And then Instagram as well, Ry Davis Music. And all those will link everything up either to the website or to the Facebook page where they can have that. And if you're big on iTunes and things like that, we're on iTunes as well.
And you get out and perform live from time to time?
Quite a bit, actually. And hopefully, we've actually taken a little bit of a break here lately, working on some of the writing and recording for the EP that's going to come out later in 2017. We haven't got an exact date on that yet. But starting in January, be sure and stay updated on the schedule because we are going to be hitting it pretty hard.
Close to us? Any place we can send them?
Nothing right now in the Cookeville area. But like I said, there's always things in the works. And if you guys do want to hear me in this area, reach out to me on Facebook, reach out to me online, reach out to me any way you can. Just drop a comment or join the mailing list and shoot me an email. That's stuff that we check, and we really love the feedback. And we'd love to get in this area if there's any places that you guys want us to see and bring a bachelor party out. We'll have a good old time.
Go check out rydavis.com. Ry, thank you so much for the conversation. It's been wonderful this evening.
I appreciate it, Greg. Thank you very much.
This has been a conversation with Ry Davis on the 9 o'clock news local edition on Rock 93.7.